Well, solar energy companies were in Winsboro today teaching the community about generating solar power. Kenya Ross is here with all the details. Kenya?
Yes, Jennifer, according to the agency, Louisiana Economic Development, solar power generation is growing in the state. These solar energy companies came to the Winsboro community to show residents that there are options that will help tackle high electricity bills. A Winsboro native who's the co-founder of one of the companies says he learned some people from his hometown didn't quite understand solar energy, and he believes if people understand what something is, they will respond.
Being able to sustain, have energy power. What I mean by sustainability is that if you lose power from the grids, you lose security of your family, you lose a way of doing business. But if you have solar energy that's sustainable, because the sun is going to be coming up every day, you're going to be sustainable.
And according to our March 2024 report, from Energy Sage, a solar marketplace, Louisiana's average cost of a solar panel installation ranges between $14,000 and a little over $18,000. But coming up at 10, I'll tell you where residents can get that financial assistance. Jennifer?